You said that luxury was once about owning and now it's about feelings.
We're talking about also what has happened to the luxury industry and retail as a whole. Post-pandemic, a lot of people went from ownership to wanting to create memories. People understood the value of a memory, of an experience. But then COVID ended. And we moved to a period now where a product is just not enough. A brand can no longer compete or lead purely with their product. The brands are no longer competing with other brands. They're now competing with micro and macro influencers.
Basically, the emotional connection or the feeling becomes the new status symbol.
Yeah. We say we don't create websites, we build destinations.
Take your front row seat at Rewire Fashion, where fashion meets technology and innovation takes center stage. I'm your host, Dr. Karen, and today we're diving into a new era for luxury, where what you feel matters more than what you own. Joining me is a visionary guest, reshaping how brands connect, how they feel, and how they sell. Sandra Helou, CEO and co-founder of MetaMinds Group and creator of VersAI, the immersive commerce platform. Welcome, Sandra.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm very happy that you're here. Really excited. We've met a couple of times during conferences, and I think you're a very, very interesting person. Congratulations to your award, I believe, as well, or you've been selected as one top thinkers. Maybe you can just explain what
it's been an interesting year, actually.
Yeah. So you have a lot of awards and top creators and top thinkers in the Web3 space. I want to talk about the new codes of luxury with you, because that's something that you post a lot on LinkedIn. You're very vocal, which I like, by the way. And you said that luxury was once about owning and now it's about feeling. So the product used to be a hero, really at the center of everything. But today, experience is everything. Yeah. Sandra, I mean, you've been vocal about it, about this shift. You've write a lot about it. So is the product not enough anymore?
This is a very loaded topic to talk about because it really depends on who you speak to. And, you know, you were very right in saying I am very vocal about it because a couple of things have happened post-COVID where, you know, we're not just talking about regional changes, consumer behavior changes. We're talking about also what has happened to the luxury industry and retail as a whole. You know, post-pandemic, a lot of people went from ownership to wanting to create memories. People understood the value of a memory, of an experience. And we started to see that rise quite a lot during COVID itself. You know, people were on TikTok making banana bread, on Instagram. You had so many things just kind of go viral, which kind of led to everyone was locked indoors. There was mass purchase of products. You know, a lot of things were being bought through Amazon, through all of these retails and e-commerce stores. But then COVID ended. And we moved to a period now where a product is just not enough. A brand can no longer compete or lead purely with their product because too much competition. The fake market is now, you know, you're able to counterfeit pretty much everything, get it to the point where it looks exactly the same, AAA quality.
True.
And when that happens, what separates your product, your real authentic product, from someone who probably has like a counterfeit item? You know what I mean? It's the experience. It's the whole approach of, I own this. What does it unlock for me? Or what does it give me? Yeah. So we're not saying stop doing products. We're saying keep your product, but differentiate it by creating experiences attached to it. It'll help you, it'll help your brand, and it'll help your community. So
basically what you're saying is that a combination of both is needed. So you have the product, but it can't just be a standalone product. It has to be an experience attached to it, or it basically unlocks. You get access to XYZ.
100%. Keep in mind we are in the immersive... our industry is in the immersive tech, in the immersive tech space. So, you know, it's not that distant to assume that if someone was to purchase a handbag, especially if you're looking at Gen Z and Gen Alphas, who are now some of the biggest consumers, they're, you know, there's going to be a 74 trillion wealth transfer happening by 2035.
How much?
74 trillion.
74 trillion.
Yeah, happening by 2035,
crazy.
going towards Gen Zs and Gen. This is the biggest generational wealth push transfer, that's ever happened. these people are already accustomed and used to digital experiences. You know, they grew up already on mobile phones. To them, a product isn't just merely a product. It's an identity. It's an experience in itself. It's a part of a group, you know.
Community even.
100%. And I just want to add one more point before we move on. Brands are no longer competing with other brands. They're now competing with micro and macro influencers, with independent people who have built large communities, are now launching their own products, and they're able to kind of beat sales and you know, and engage the community in a way, in a more faster approach. So a lot has happened, and I think the whole market just needs to reinvent itself.
Yeah, and that's a very, very important point. There is a lot of like influencers. They have a lot of followers. They build their community. They know how to talk to them. They love them. I mean, the community loves the influencer. And then the influencer launches a brand, whatever it is, right? It could be a clothing brand. It could be, I don't know, a health brand. It could be beauty as well. And then they just make millions or even more, right?
Get acquired. Even. Some of them are getting acquired.
Exactly.
A couple of days ago, I met, it was kind of off record, but I met with an influencer. And, you know, we were just sitting down having a chat. It was just a normal conversation. And he said to me that through his community, he asked them, you know, if I launch a product, would you guys be willing to participate and be a part of it? They said yes. And then he put like a list, you know, like, do you want shoes? Do you want T-shirts? They picked toothpaste. So now he's looking at launching like a line of toothpaste. And I was shocked. Me personally, I was shocked. I'm like, really? Toothpaste? Like out of everything? And you'd be surprised how big his wait list is. And I'm like, okay, so this is interesting, you know. So you're breaking into this market that you probably don't really know much about, but you have the community support. How it will go, I don't know, but you know, the drive that exists.
And probably not that bad, because I think what's interesting, what this person did is really to ask his community, right? And then to listen to what the community 100%. Is saying. And sometimes I feel like brands, let's say like long existing brands, they're not listening to their community, which are their consumers basically.
Well, they don't really build a community. Long existing heritage brands work on the function of exclusivity.
That's true.
And if you have something that's exclusive, you're not really expanding on, you know. So it's like, I know you, I know you, I know you. You guys are my group, and that's it.
But do they know them? That's the question.
100%.
Maybe they just assume they know them.
100%.
And then also, I mean, if they just build on the older generation and don't bring in the new generation, the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, what remains?
100%. And this is why you see brands like Coach, who used to be, you know, Coach wasn't really looked at previously as a luxury brand. It was kind of
not at all.
Kind of low to mid. But now with all the work that they're doing, how they're engaging the community, how they're listening to feedback, how they're activating their employees as brand ambassadors. You've seen them skyrocket it. You know, like I have no shame in saying that this year, Coach is my absolute favorite brand. I love what they are doing from...
Maybe I have to look a bit into it, because for me, Coach, was never a luxury brand, but maybe we can also talk about Alo Yoga, right? Because I know they have like this new bag that costs, I don't know,
$3,400.
$3,500. Very unexpected. What's your opinion on that?
If anyone checks my LinkedIn, they'll know my opinion, because I think I wrote like a 2-pager on it.
Please go and check.
Please check it. I'll summarize it here. I'll try to. Look, again, there's a couple of things that tie into this. Alo Yoga had definitely set a market for itself, and they were able to break into it and build a name for themselves. You know, they have now boutiques that have juice bars, they have protein shakes, they have whatever it is.
Which makes sense, right?
It does. It actually it completely does, you know. I think for me, the way that they've expanded on it adds value to their core community. The only problem that I have...
Tell me, what is it?
is when you're a brand that already people are talking about the quality. And mind you, I'm not talking badly about them. I'm saying this is what... If you look online, this is what the consumer feedback is, and this is what people who test items are saying. The quality on the material that is used is not at a level based on the price margin that it's at. And when you already have this kind of like competition from Lululemon, from a couple of others that are popping up, Skims is one of them. for them to take the path of launching a $3,000 gym bag, to me personally, it absolutely made no sense. Because while I understand that some people will jump on that, but this bag is not a luxury bag. You know, you're not going to go to a nice dinner at night holding your Alo bag.
Probably
you know,
not.
you're not going to do that.
No.
You're probably not going to take it to the gym either. So where is the market for it? Because, you know, if I wanted to spend $3,000, I might as well just go get like a Bottega duffel bag and take it to the gym, or I might go get like even a Prada duffel bag and take it. You know what I mean? Like at that price range, you can definitely get an actual luxury brand.
Yeah, I agree.
One of their products. So to me, there was just confusion around. You're already succeeding in a market where you're getting a lot of negative feedback. Why add another layer of?
Well, maybe, I don't know, to grab attention or to just like confuse people. I don't know. I didn't understand it either.
Yeah.
But let's see what their strategy is in the future. Maybe they want to tap into this luxury industry or segment, but I didn't understand.
Another
it
quick
either.
point on that, and I'm going to bring in Coach again, you know, because on the LinkedIn post I made that comparison. Coach's bag, the Empire 40-inch, or so, I can't remember the name now, Empire 50-inch, I think it was, you know, the burgundy, it was sold out everywhere. There was a wait list to get it. That bag was being sold at, I believe it was like $800.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. When you see it, when you touch it, the way you can use it, the use case for it is absolutely gorgeous. And then, you know, they launched a couple of other models as well, also priced at around $700, $800, so on. So again, it brings back to the point where 3,000 versus a 800 bag, where are you trying to fit in? So my problem isn't with Alo. My problem is what are you doing?
Exactly.
Where are you going?
What's the strategy here? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, talking about, I want to talk about the rise of emotional luxury. And that's probably also something we already touched base a bit. You mentioned also that Diptyque, the perfume brand, sold a candle, which was, I think, almost $300 or something.
$289, yeah.
Quite expensive. And they sold it not as a product, but as a kind of like an emotional experience, right? And it's fascinating that like feeling deeply is now a form of luxury.
Yeah.
Is that what you see as well, or what you sense if you look at like products or feelings like this?
Well, luxury as a whole has kind of changed. You know, back in the day, luxury used to be a product. It was a heritage brand.
Yeah.
The craftsmanship was there. You owned the Hermes. This was luxury. Luxury now is time. It's health and wellness.
True.
It's your interior, how you feel inside your own home.
Yeah.
So I believe luxury as a whole, just as a title, has shifted. What does it mean to be luxurious these days? You know, and if you ask every single person, they have a different answer for you. There has been a big shift towards, and if you look at the Chinese market, this is kind of where they're heading, and where the biggest surge of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and even millennials are now spending their money on health and wellness, but also home.
Okay.
So now the house has become a big point of luxury. You know, when you walk into the house, is the feng shui correct? How does it smell? How does it feel? How does it look?
Interesting.
And this is also pushed by the fact that remote work, again, post-COVID, a lot of people are now working from home. So you want to feel comfortable in your space. Diptyque, what they do, you know, this is kind of like the Kodak. Kodak doesn't sell pictures, they sell memories. Yeah. You know? Tiffany's, they don't sell diamonds. They sell engagements, wedding, whatever it is. I can't remember their tagline, to be honest. And this is the same with Diptyque and other brands like that. You know, they're not saying come buy a candle. They're saying come buy an experience. You know, you walk in, you smell the sandalwood, you smell the oud, you smell all of these things. You're kind of like transport. And this is why they have these names, you know, like I have a candle at home I absolutely love. It's called like Sahara Desert.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, and then I have another one, it's called like Spanish Mercado or something. Like they have these weird names. But these are meant to like transport you to these spaces. So I do believe there's a new segment of luxury being broken, and it's being defined by the end consumer. And our just day-to-day lives, you know, there's fatigue. There's fatigue. There's so much information out there right now.
Yeah, we're overwhelmed.
We are. But there's from the advertising to the marketing to AI, texts, and you know, generative AI and all of it. People just want a space where they can escape. Yeah. And they're making it their home. So this is why products like this are surging in value, in price, and in multi-sensory experiences for the consumer.
Yeah, very interesting. So basically the emotional connection or the feeling becomes the new status symbol.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. I love that. But yeah, I think a lot of brands don't realize it. I mean, which brand is, except from Diptyque, which we mentioned, is actually very good at doing that, or realizing that they have to go after the emotions, after people's feelings.
You have a lot of brands who are looking at other industries and trying to break into it. You know, for example, in Dubai Mall, Tiffany & Co. have opened up a cafe. Yeah. In London, Prada has a cafe.
Yeah, a lot of brands have cafes 100%.
Now. They've now kind of expanded into cafes. A lot of them have also expanded, like Ferrari recently launched a beautiful, absolutely beautiful line of clothing.
Oh, really?
Gorgeous, amazing.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, and previously, if you saw someone wearing a Ferrari shirt, you'd be like, okay, either he owns a Ferrari or why are you wearing it? You know what
exactly.
I mean? Why do you have this shirt on? But
by the
now,
way, just speaking of clothing, FIFA, like the Football Association, has an own clothing line as well. I mean, that's a bit off topic, but they have their own clothing.
FIFA?
Yeah, FIFA.
Okay.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm not too into sports.
Yeah, but that was quite a surprise to me as well. Okay. Why would FIFA do that, right? But I interrupted you. Please go ahead.
No, not at all. I mean, look, it makes sense 100%. You know, they sell jerseys, they sell all of these things, so it probably makes sense. But, you know, when you look at, again, you look at Ferrari, you look at Porsche, are also doing the same thing. Even Mercedes here, if you go to Mercedes in, I can't remember the name of the area, but it's around here somewhere in Dubai, you know, it's a full experience. It is a full experience. So, you know, you have all of these luxury brands who understand that they cannot just be product focused. They need to expand and cross market. I would definitely recommend everyone look up what Ferrari has done, to be honest, because it's just gorgeous. But, you know, I want to give you an example where sometimes it does work and sometimes it doesn't. Dolce & Gabbana a couple of years ago had a issue with the Chinese within the Chinese market.
They had an ad, right?
They had an ad that just wasn't welcomed the way that it was handled.
Wasn't appropriate,
So what they're trying to do, or what they tried to do a while back, is they tried to break back into the Chinese market with an Italian restaurant.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're like, if they don't like us anymore, we'll give them pasta. Maybe they'll like us then.
And usually people like pasta.
Usually people like pasta and, you know,
Italian
and
food,
lasagna and limoncello. So maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. But, you know, you see that if someone creates like a negative stigma around something that they've done, they're trying to now fix it through other means. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, this also goes back to what is luxury? How do you lead with a product, and how do you expand on this product so you're not just seen as a handbag or a T-shirt or shoes or fast cars? So it's an interesting. It's now become an interesting industry.
Right. Yeah. And something that you mentioned also about the cafes and restaurants, by the way, as well. A lot of brands are also tapping into restaurants. I'm basically just like giving you the full experience, even though you maybe can't afford their bag, but you can afford their cup of coffee or tea, right? Or their cakes. So you kind of like have this feeling, this luxurious feeling, and you're part of them. You take pictures as well. It's Instagrammable, so you're kind of like part of their community, but not really, because you cannot afford the brand, or you cannot afford their products, right?
Yeah, it's a brilliant point you made, actually, because this is a brilliant way to tap into, you know, like kind of like the mid-range consumer who does want to be able to have your product, but like you said, right now they're just happy within your cafe, you know, participating in this community that you've built. But again, you know, I saw this funny meme a couple of days ago, and it takes me back to the counterfeit topic that I was saying. And the meme was the Hermes CEO seeing everyone carrying a Hermes Birkin, and he's only sold 4 this year. And I remember, like, I laughed for a good 2 minutes, to be honest. Like, I kept looking at it, laughing, looking at it again. Because it's true. You know, Hermes has built this like exclusivity. They have, you know, Birkin. I know there's a secondary market, of course, you know, we understand how it works. But when you look sometimes at the masses and you see almost every second person sometimes is holding a Birkin or some style of Hermes handbag, you're like, okay. And this is why I go back to the point of, yes, this is a heritage brand, but what separates a loyal consumer from someone who is getting a counterfeit or a product that looks like it is the experience attached.
Yeah.
And that experience could be as simple as an AI assistant that is always ready to answer your questions. My son drew on my Birkin, how do I clean it? I dropped ketchup on it or whatever it is. Not ketchup, sorry, caviar. I dropped caviar on it, how do I fix that? So, it's these slight experiences that add value, that differentiate.
Yeah. And speaking of experiences, I mean, inside the immersive commerce, which you are doing with MetaMinds, I mean, you're pioneering you call it immersive commerce. Your platform, VersAI, I love to say it VersAI because it's very chic, right? But it is actually VersAI written, but you say VersAI, right?
It was written VersAI for a reason, but you're right.
I love the VersAI, the playful twist. So moving beyond like static e-commerce to create like living and breathing brand worlds, I mean, how would you define immersive commerce in your own words so that people understand what we're talking about? Yeah,
I mean, look, the best way to sum it up is immersive commerce is exactly kind of the lead way that I've been speaking to this whole episode. We looked at data. We went through, I don't know how many websites from across all e-commerce. We started from Pull & Bear, H&M, Primark.
Okay.
We looked at from the lowest you can go, even Costco, Walmart, anything that sells, all the way up to Cartier, Louis Vuitton, again, all these luxury brands. And we built the spectrum. And we captured their e-commerce. And we were shocked to realize that they all looked, if you zoom out, they all look the same. You could not differentiate. It's all a grid. You enter the e-commerce, you have a product, a hero shot, you have models, promoting whatever it is. Then you have another grid, which has another product. And then you have another grid, which has more products. So
it's a very flat grid.
It's a very flat, static approach to differentiation. And it makes sense. We're not here saying, let's replace e-commerce. This is not at all what we're saying. What we do with VersAI and what we're looking to do with I wish I could say it like you, by the way, but I'm not. I like the French education that everyone else has around me in Lebanon and with you and in Dubai, say VersAI.
But, you said it right.
Brilliant. But if you look at e-commerce and you look at the physical boutique and you look at the technology we have now, we can add value where you can essentially take your consumer and pretty much help them step inside your brand virtually. Yeah. You can build an experience, and this ties back to it. We're not saying replace your e-commerce. We're just saying differentiate yourself through adding an experience that can either be accessed by your consumers. It can be a private environment that only certain people can access it. And
like the VIP clients.
The VIP clients, whoever it is, And the reason why it's called VersAI is because we have an embedded AI agent that understands your brand. It understands your product catalog. It understands everything there is to know about you. I want to make a point here, which is one of the biggest issues that luxury brands have is when you go into the physical store, the sales associates don't actually know the entire product catalog.
Oh, I have to say that's very true.
Or the brand, and they don't even know your history. And it happened to me.
Exactly, they don't know me, right?
100%. And this happened to me, I'm not even joking, last week. The sales associate was absolutely amazing. She was so nice. But, as soon as we walked in, hi, welcome to Prada. No, I think now I give too much away. But hi, welcome to Prada. Is this your first time in Prada? No. Have you heard of Prada before? Yes, I have. Yes, I have heard of Prada before. And I knew exactly, I was with my sister and our cousin, and, we knew exactly what we wanted. So we were going in there. We asked her, do you have this Prada shoe, but we wanted this kind of style? And, the response was, no, I've never seen that.
Oh, that's a
and
big
we're like,
no. Yeah.
And we're like, no, we're 100% sure you have it because we saw it on your website and we know it exists. So, the whole point is to not dwell on it and dive deep into it, is that a lot of sales and loyalty is missed because associates don't understand the full brand history, the full brand catalog. So when you embed an AI assistant that understands everything, you're then able to connect this to every touch point, kind of like all your omni-channel, your social media, your e-commerce, your physical store. Understand your clients, understand the products. And then me as a consumer, I can interact, engage with it, get a full story, get the full history, see if it unlocks an experience. So we say we don't create websites, we build destinations, because this is in fact what we do. You're not going to a website, you're going to a destination. It's kind of like you're traveling. You're traveling inside your brand. So this is the layer that we add, and we're an addition. We're not a replacer. We're not replacing anything. And before you ask me, because I assume a lot of people are going to be thinking about it. This is not about avatars.
Exactly.
This is not about avatars.
So you don't have this funny avatar popping up and saying, "Hi, what do you want? Is it your first time here?" Basically, just replicating.
If it says that, we need to go back to
assistant.
If it says that, we need to go back to product, because it should know you if you've logged in. Look, we've built our product for everyday consumers. We understand there are some people who might want an avatar and dress it up and curate it based on their identity. And this is where kind of the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas come to be, right? But we also understand there's a different market. Like for me, even though it's my industry, I hate avatars.
Interesting.
And Pedro is probably gonna catch me on it, because we always have a conversation back and forth, me and him on it. I'm not going to dress up an avatar personally. I can see value in it. I can understand why people would do it. But to me, if I want an experience, I want it to be first person view. It's like I'm just browsing. I'm sure you know what I mean, right? It's like when I'm just looking at it. And of course, my identity can be an avatar, whatever. I can dress it up, I can set it up, but I don't want to see it. So we've made the platform in a way where it appeals to people who are 30, 40, 50 plus if they want to engage with it. And we've made it appealing to people who are 20, so and so below. And I believe this is what differentiates us.
Okay. And basically my next question would be, what brands do you already have on, with whom do you actually work? Which brands? Can you name some, or is it very secret?
Look, I'm sure we can have some leakages, but
okay. So let's get it out.
No, but look, we do have a little activation coming up with the British Beauty Council as part of London Fashion Week.
Oh, nice. When is it?
Good question. And I'm going to sound horrible right now, but I've been focusing on other parts of the business.
No worries.
But I believe it's...
check online.
No, it's October. It's October 22nd.
Oh, okay.
So October 22nd is going to be, the event and where it's happening. And we've done this using the Snap glasses, so spectacles, or not Snapticals, which is the AR glasses. You wear them and then you can engage and interact. We are about to launch our platform. So the platform actually has not launched yet. We're still working on pilots with a small curated team of brands that we've handpicked, and who've also handpicked us. It wasn't just us. It was a mutual relationship. Of course. We've done small private experiments with them to see, what are the use cases that brands need? And we've done it across industry. We've done it across travel and tourism. We've done it across retail. We've done it across health and wellness. So we've done it across multiple industries, and automotive too, and being like, this works for this industry, this works for this industry, this works for this industry. And then we've accumulated that. And we are now getting ready to launch the product towards the end of October.
Okay, that's exciting news. Okay.
Look, I am going to say it, but I think we have the best website that exists.
Yeah. We will put the website there. No worries. So people can click on it as well and check it out. Yeah. No, that's amazing. I would love to see it. Obviously, I haven't seen it yet. I heard you speaking about it. Also Pedro, which was in, I believe, was it the 3rd episode or the 4th episode? So everyone, all listeners, they can check what Pedro said as well. So you work together. I just find it very interesting, how did you start the conversation with brands? Because sometimes it feels like brands are not really aware of it. So did you just approach them and say, listen, you could do this and that? Or how do you approach brands? That's basically what I try to find out.
No, it's a good question because, first of all, for us to get VersAI and even MetaMinds to where it is it's been a brilliant team effort. You know, behind me there's a superstar team that works day and night on ensuring that what we're putting out to the market is appealing, is aesthetic, and it makes sense. And this is, you know, when Pedro joined us, you know, Pedro had served 11 years at Richemont, heading up their head of innovation across all of their, you know, luxury brands and all of it. So when he joined us, he added a touch to the product to refine it for the luxury industry, you know, and that came through setting up, for example, a set of merchant tooling that they might use, or clienteling, you know, fixing the AI agent and all of these things. Brands are still, it depends what level of brand you're talking to.
Yeah, okay.
We found that it's always easier to approach and speak to the mid-level, so the mid-tier luxury brands, not even like just mid-tier brands.
As opposed to like luxury brands,
Coach, Kate Spade, you know, a couple of others,
just to get a feeling.
Because you know they're the ones who they're more willing to experience, to create experiences, to interact and engage with their consumers, because they understand the value of community. They understand that you need to adapt to technology and new age requirements to keep up with the very successful luxury brands, who, mind you, are struggling as well. You know, that's
but they're more willing to experiment as well.
They are, and this is one of the bigger things that we face. You know, in the beginning when we started, we were chasing big names. You know, big names, and we found that meetings would go for like 6, 7, 8 months. And when you're a company that wants to, you know, close deals, you know, reiterate a product, get feedback, create pilots, if every single client you're talking to is going to take 8 or so months to keep going back and forth across, we need to convince finance, we need to convince marketing, we need to convince operations. Both of you tend to lose the steam that started off and tend to lose the, you know, just the whole experience becomes just more of a failed relationship.
It's
really.
very draining as well.
It is.
Right?
It's very draining. So we did change our approach, which was a learning curve for us. And then we were like, okay, you know what? Let's focus on the mid-tier aspirational brands. They're the ones who understand their community because they do speak to them directly. They take feedback. They're the ones who have capital and are willing to investigate, play around with it, see what works. And since we've done that, it's, to be fair, it's been working. And this has now become our focus.
Okay. That's great. And something that you mentioned as well, which I loved, by the way, is like you talked about that your digital world should be a destination and not a product grid. So that's something that I will take with me. And I will probably, after our recording, I will go to a couple of websites and just check them out and compare them, because that's really, I'm actually quite shocked that luxury brands and even like I would say a Primark or something, they have the exact same grid.
I mean, I'll share a screenshot with you, definitely, and I'll share it with you so you can see it.
That's really interesting. So this is certainly something that I learned today, which is amazing. I mean, I just wanted to talk about, we're sitting here in Dubai, we both live here. So the Middle East, or MENA, as the future hub, I want to talk about that. So you've said that the MENA region isn't just about like catching up, because in the past, I mean, the Western world, I would say, was always like moving forward, and now sometimes people tend to say, well, the MENA region is catching up, but it's actually not true, right? They're not catching up, they're leading. So MENA is leading now. We see like trends in Saudi, very young population. We have gaming, which is big in Saudi. We have smart tourism here in Dubai as well. And it feels like a testing ground for, I would say, for the immersive economy, not for immersive commerce. Obviously, immersive commerce is part of the economy. What do you think? Is that true? Or what's your take on, or what's your opinion on the MENA region?
I mean, I was having this conversation a couple of days ago. I met up with a pretty big, they're an online digital paper focused on luxury retail. And we had a meeting and we were chatting. And a part of it was, you know, and this was exactly the point I made because they raised kind of like a similar question, which is in the past, you know, there was this concept of the West and Europe were the ones leading with what is luxury. What does it mean to be modern?
Italy,
what does it mean to be technology first and all of it? And a lot of the I'm not going to say stigma, but a lot of the concepts that people had on the Middle East and the GCC region or MENA as a whole was that, like you said, they were playing catch up. But then reality settled in. And, thanks to places like Dubai, Saudi Arabia, people are now starting to realize that actually, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Luxury has a very strong hold in this region. Luxury is defined by a lot of people from this region. If you look at some of the very big maisons and couture houses, I'm not going to... There's plenty of them, but I do have to mention some of the Lebanese ones.
Of course, yeah.
I just have to.
Yeah, please go ahead.
And they impacted quite a lot what luxury means, especially in the work that they've done.
Yeah.
And if you look at tech as well in the region, if you look at perfume in the region, if you look at, health, wellness, if you look at hospitality, if you look at the food industry, this region has its own way of doing things. And previously, like we said, there was this concept of we're telling people what luxury is. Now there's a balance. People are now starting to realize that, this region can lead, and it is leading.
Yeah.
If you look at Europe and if you look at the West right now, a lot of their startup founders are starting to move towards Dubai, towards Saudi Arabia, towards Qatar, towards, a couple of other places. And the reason for that is, the government here actually provides the full support for you to succeed in what you need to do to get from point A to point B. They run initiatives, like you mentioned, esports. Definitely, let's put $100 billion fund behind it. Yeah. And if you're doing something, come to us. Blockchain, brilliant. Let's put a fund behind it and let's do it. Immersive commerce, let's do it. So they're very focused, they're very strategic, and they work for the benefit of the country and the people. And this is what's beautiful about it. It's
and probably different than the Western world. Do you also think that the regional brands here in MENA region are more agile than Western ones, and they tend to adopt easier to immersive tech as well, or are they more open compared to, let's say, heritage brands, in Europe, right? We have big heritage brands in Paris or in France and in Italy. What about the heritage brands here, or just the brands here? Are they more open, more open-minded, more, they just, do they love tech?
Just say it as it is.
Exactly. Do they love it?
Look, heritage brands here, obviously, every brand I've come across in the region tells a story, whether it's a story about their culture, whether it's a story about, survival, sacrifice, whatever it is, it tells a story. And to tell a story, you need to look at how tech plays a role.
Yeah.
So we can be as simple as telling their story on Instagram. That's still tech,
Yeah,
So yes, I can say they are tech welcoming. Are they ready to jump into immersive experiences and all of that? They're more open to it, of course, because this is the atmosphere in the region.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
This is the atmosphere in the region. And again, I go back to seeing a T-shirt with Arabic calligraphy on it makes me so happy and excited. It's gorgeous. The way they've infused art into what they're doing, the way that you tell your story, your history, and your heritage, that gives essence to a product that is not just pure leather, hand-stitched, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, you're telling a story. And to add an experience to that, it just makes it so easy. Come tell me your story.
And it's actually, you can talk about culture, you can talk about heritage. There is a lot of culture in the MENA region as well, right? A long history as well. Interesting things happened here, beautiful calligraphy. There's many, many beautiful things, which probably the Western world wasn't really aware of it, or just tend to ignore or forget. I don't know what the reason was, but anyway, what I see, I grew up in the Western world, so I am Western, right? But what I see is that now it starts, people from the MENA region are actually proud now. That's something, proud of their heritage, proud to show. Also brands, new brands, they just, there's like an emergence of big or local brands, and they're just proud of being, for example, Arab, right?
Yeah. And I would say we've always been proud. I think, as a region, we've always been proud in who we are and what we've been through. The only difference, and like I was saying a couple of days ago, is we're now the ones telling our story.
Yeah.
Now
true.
we're the ones who are controlling the narrative. We're the ones who are speaking out. We're the ones sharing it. It's no longer, you remember back in the day when they do like a movie in somewhere that had like an Arabic country in it. An Arab country, it would always have that, orange filter, and like there'd always be
Really
like a
weird,
sandstorm,
right? Yeah.
or something like
Yeah,
that.
the sandstorm.
Yeah, there was always like a sandstorm, orange filter, like that music and all of it. It's not the reality. So what's happened is now we're the ones telling our story. We're the ones in control of it, and
it's a complete different story.
It's a complete different story because when you tell something led by you, you're telling it from the heart. It's not like if I pass on a baton to someone and say go tell them who Sandra is, they're not going to say the key points or understand exactly what I want to get across. But when you're leading with this, and this is again, I go back to, this is what's beautiful. We're the ones who are now leading with our story, and there's a lot of stories to be told in this region. Every country has its own history, has its own story, has its own outlook on life. I don't know if you've heard of Saudi. I don't know if you've heard any Saudi rap.
No, okay. I haven't, but I have to listen to it.
You have to. I mean, Saudi rap is just mind-blowing. It's like this genre of, I think it's like Emirati and Saudi, there's like all these rappers who are coming up right now.
Yeah.
And if you listen to it, it's absolutely stunning.
Oh, cool.
And I never I like house.
Yeah.
I like old school
well.
R&B and all of it. Never in my life did I think I'd be sitting in my car with
and listening to
Saudi rap playlist.
Why not? I love that.
100%. Yeah. So, these things are starting to now evolve and more people are starting to understand them. And thank God, we're now done with the orange filter and the sandstorms.
That was really bad. Yeah. But it's just cliches. I mean, it's 100%. The same cliche about my country. It's exact the same. I won't go into details, but it's exact the same. In every Hollywood movie, it's always the same. It's basically the Swiss bank account. So all the criminals have a Swiss bank account, and which is not true, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
But that's just like
everyone
cliches.
Still asks me if in Australia we have kangaroos and koalas in our backyard. And I'm like, I've seen them once in my life.
But thank you very much, Sandra. It was very interesting talking to you. Also to talk about, like the culture background, being here in the Middle East as well, what it means, where we go, that, it's not just like catching up, but actually it's like the opposite. Yeah. I think the Western world has to catch up, and that comes from a Western person. So I think definitely, I think we underestimated the regions or different regions, especially the MENA region. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. Thank you, visionaries, for taking a front row seat in fashion's revolution. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow Rewire Fashion on social media for more conversations at the intersection of fashion, technology, and innovation. This is Rewire Fashion, and we're just getting started. Until next time, stay inspired and keep rewiring the future of fashion.